All right, so what we're doing today is I'm taking the dash panel out of this 63 parts car that we have. A couple people have asked us what happened to this car. We were told that a tree fell on it, and it is going to be giving its life to the 63 hardtop that's around the corner. But in order to do that, because I want to use all the wiring out of this thing that I can, I'm going to have to take the dash panel out. I want to take that out and get all the stuff off the back side of it. Makes it a little easier with the dash panel removed. You might be doing the same thing.
Restoration of a classic Ford is a journey of discovery. Let Autocrafters help you with yours. We offer quality parts for Falcon, Fairlane, F-Series, Galaxy, Maverick, and Pinto. Contact us today.
Okay, so I'm going to pop these tabs in. Sometimes I use a little bit bigger screwdriver, sometimes I don't. Those two are done. The problem is the two bottom ones are always harder to see and pop in. That one's done. That one's in. You just shove them inside the cab of the car. That'll open up this so you can get to the second one here. Note too that a lot of times it's missing, but there is evidence of it having had some strip caulk around the outside perimeter of it to keep water from getting down inside the cab of the car from there. Now there is a drip rail that will help with that, but you get water splash up as well from road runs and stuff where you go through a deep puddle or whatever. So just keep in mind that there may be some sealer around these plugs. You kind of have to feel for the two bottom ones. There we go. Should be everybody out of the pool. Now that those are inside, I'm going to go over one other wire. If you have an air conditioning car, there'll be another wire coming out of here. This does not attach to the dash harness at all. It actually runs over to the under dash AC. These cars never came with, well, the 1960 to 64 cars never came with in-dash factory AC. It was always a knee knocker unit, like the one we pulled out in the episode that's down below me here. So now we move to the inside and start taking everything off from in there so that we can get this dash panel out. All right, now, whenever you're taking a dash panel out on a car that's completely assembled, you're going to want to make sure you get all the things. Things like your door switches here. You'll want to take your dip switch down there on the floor for your headlights, for your brights. You want to take that and unhook it. And then you'll also want to come in here and undo your turn signal switch harness if you're so lucky as to be like this one and have the original. It kind of blows me away that this is in nice shape. Oddly enough, even the canceling switch on this car is working. And you just sometimes have to wiggle them around in order to get them to come apart. This one has been sitting in weather a little bit, so these are a little hard to get undone. I wanted to take the entire wiring harness away with the dash panel. It's a shame about this car because it's actually in quite nice shape wiring wise. There's not really anything done to it to make me feel like it was abused at all. So that's your turn signal switch pulled apart. The thing on the Galaxies is these turn signal switches were used on a couple of different cars. So the Galaxy will have, if it's still all original, will have, I guess, this rubber piece that is a connector between the turn signal switch system and the one on the wiring harness. If it's missing this rubber pieces here, it's going to be kind of fun trying to figure out which goes where. Although, if you get the right turn signal switch, you should be okay. Now I got to dive up underneath the dash panel, and you're not going to be able to see this, but the image that I'm putting up right now shows you what I'm going to be working on, and that is the fresh air vent. You have to take the clamp off of it in order to take the dash panel away from it. This one, it got so nasty that the actual pigtail on the fresh air vent is busted. So I'm going to go in here and try to get that out. And it will require a short screwdriver like this one I've got right here. Now there's other wiring underneath this dash panel that's going to need to be taken out. Plus you have the speedo cable, which without the heater and all in here, it's actually easier to access. But I'm not going to say it's easy to access. And with it having been in the weather, it's going to kind of be a nightmare to get out of here. And it's in such nice shape, I don't really want to wreck it. Trying to see if I can put my hand on it enough to see what I got. I'm just going to let that lay for a minute and go ahead and start working on some of the other wiring. Now I'm going to undo this. This is actually a pretty rare option on some of these cars. This is a 2-speed wiper. I want to be very gentle with this one because I want to take this one out of this car and use it in the hardtop. I have a sense that this car has never been apart before. That's one way to skin the cat. What I've got here is a pair of lineman's pliers that I've wrapped in tape that I'm using to grab the end of it. I'm going to try taking this apart a little differently. I'm going to try using a flat blade screwdriver. Obviously, you should not have your battery running in the car with this going on. One thing I don't like about these old cars is the way they put the wiring harnesses together on them, like this. It just gives up. Well, that was a lot of fun, very sporting. A little bit of a mark on there, but I don't think anybody's going to notice. All right, now this harness here is your wiring harness for if you have air conditioning. All right, now the other thing you want to make sure you get out of here is your neutral safety switch harness. This one is plugged in from the back side toward the firewall, so it's plugged in that way on the neutral safety switch. This neutral safety switch is shot. Luckily, we won't be needing it. All right, the only thing I got left is to take the the only thing I've got left is to take the switches out on the post here. I'm going to remove these. Grab my friendly lineman's pliers with the tape on them. Pop these bad boys out. I'm going to try to retain these and restore them if I can. You're just going to want to go in and paint this to a silver color. Always good to remember where this stuff goes and what wires go where. And I'll tell you something about harnesses. My friend Larry Shirley says that if you've got a wiring harness, grab that when you're falling out of an airplane because it's going to catch on something before you hit the ground. All right, that side's all free. I'm just going to go over on the passenger side and do the same thing over there. Metal shavings everywhere in my skin. All right, now, what we're going to do is we're going to take apart the rest of this. Now, I've cut the radio aerial on this car because the radio aerial is shot. There's no really need for it. These are your heater controls. Any Galaxy that still has the heater box in it, these should be underneath that dash panel there. And that is, the heater box is something that's actually going to stay on the dash panel if yours is in the car. Now, we can go back. There's a video we did that you can look at, the URL below me here, well, the description below me here. The rest of it's down in the description below. But we have a video on removing the heater box from one of these cars, so you can go back and take a look at that if you want to see the removal process. But all wiring theoretically should be undone at this point. I may have missed something, but now we move on to actually getting the dash panel out of the car. And you may wonder why I'm taking the whole dash panel out. Well, I want to have it as a unit because it's just easier to keep track of all the dash wiring if everything is still attached to it than if just taking the dash panel completely apart and blowing it into the wind. This will allow me to also make it easier to get some of these dash pieces off the car that I want to try to reuse on the 63 hardtop. We'll try to restore this stuff up and do some videos on that as well, and then we'll see where that goes from here. Because it's not really that bad, but there is some restoration that needs to be done. Oddly enough, these are in better shape than the ones that are actually on the 63 hardtop. So now I'm going to go grab my tools and we'll start taking the dash panel apart by going in and taking bolts out and things like that, because there are some bolts that you have to remove. All right, so it is day 2 on this. Now this is not a 2-day operation. We had a camera malfunction yesterday. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the 2 bolts here on the steering column. I'm hoping that I can just drop this steering column down to go ahead and start removing all the other bolts across the dash panel itself. Now our problem right now is that these have gotten rusty from just the sitting up of the car in the weather. And we may be encountering a spin issue here. Because it feels like the upper bolt is actually just spinning now. Nope, it's actually okay, I'm going to show you this. This is basically just a stud that goes up in here. What should happen with this is the stud should be on the dash panel and the nut should be something that you remove to take this collar loose. That's not what's going on here on this one. The other one may come out fine. We'll see. The reason for that is it just makes it easier to get the steering column in position. Nope, upper's coming out on this one too. And that was actually stuck in the column. Okay, there we go. Dropped and plopped. Okay, now this is in a position where I could probably go in and just remove the dash panel. Now there's 2 bolts on this thing, one on either side here. These are also 1/2-inch bolts. These may be harder to get out. Yeah. Let's see if I can get that emergency brake to apply. Was hoping that I could take the bolt off, because there's a bracket that runs right here. There's a bracket with a bolt here, and it's an L bracket onto the dash panel. That means that there is probably a nut on the back side of it. There's a nut on the back side of it. Ford, you vex me so. Okay, I got my 1/2-inch combination up in there, which you really won't be able to see, but you have to trust me. It's in there. I'm going to stack all my fasteners on the floor right now to be able to do this. Now off camera, I'm going to go and do the other side and get that one done so that these 2 bolts on either side will allow me to pull the dash panel out. Bum, bum, bum. All right, now the next step in this is these pieces here, your trim pieces that go across the front area toward the windshield. These can be gotten out with the windshield in the car. You can actually take these dash panels out, I'm pretty sure, with the glass still in, because everything kind of angles this way around the perimeter. There are, I believe, 10 of these screws around the outside perimeter. They're Phillips head screws just like this. This is your centerpiece that ties those 2 outside pieces together. You want to hang on to this stuff. Make sure you put it in a bag or something, which I will later. Right now I'm just throwing it with the pile of other fasteners. These come out. I'm just going to throw them out onto the cowling for right now because I can, because the glass is not in. our little car here. Now these are 5/16. Now they're buried down in here, and you're going to take these out. They're probably self-tappers, I would imagine. Yep, they're self-tappers. So I'm going to throw these in my pile of bolts and just continue on around the perimeter, putting pressure on the drill motor so that it doesn't strip it out. I always keep any of these kind of, especially the self-tapping fasteners, I keep those, put them in some Evapro Rust overnight. It'll clean them up. They'll look pretty good, and well, over a couple of days. They'll look pretty nice when you get done with them. And then you can reuse them somewhere else in the car to tie something else down, because when we take this out, we should have enough in the other car to be able to put everything back together. Try not to wreck the wipers too badly. Great, gonna have to come out, go around. I just heard it slip a little bit. Yeah, see the dash panel just dropped. So everything is out. Get me fasteners out of here. Now, your big question at this point is, who's going to help you get this big, heavy sucker out of here? Ford didn't make anything out of plastic in 1963, except for the little reveal piece in the center of the instrument cluster. All right, I'm going to pull it forward. Yep, we're good. Untie it from anything that's holding on to it, which is the wipers at this point. And I'm going to have to go out the door to the passenger side with this. I cannot take this thing out going to the driver's side. I'm not worried about most of this. What I'm really worried about is actually the facing pieces on here and my wiring harness. All right. Now go back to the driver's side and take that out. I've got something that's hanging it up. Ah, forgot about my Speedo cable, but I can get to that from up here now. All right, now, anytime you're doing this kind of stuff, you don't want to yank. You don't want to just start yanking on the thing to pull the dash out, because we have a really decent harness here that's in pretty darn good shape, so I want to try to maintain it. One of the things I noticed when I pulled this thing down was this right here is all still plugged in. Let me get these unplugged. If I can get them to come unplugged, because sometimes we've had problems with these unplugging, but they're doing fine today. And this is our ground wire, I'm pretty sure, for the AC system. I'm going to gently grab that. I need them to twist. Most of the time they'll come loose. Now this piece of the harness here will stay in the car for now. We'll pull it out later. We are going to try to use it. But our biggest goal right now is to get that right there, which is the Speedo cable. Now something that you can run into with stuff like this is there are times when that may be the only thing holding the dash panel in play. That's it. That's as far as you're going to turn. Really don't want to cut that. There we go. Like I said, sometimes they're just hanging on it. Now I should be able to pull this thing out now by just picking this up off of here, rolling it around and taking it out through the passenger door. All right, away we go. Get my old butt up in here. Everything's dragging away. Hey, ah. Hello, baby. Right on. Woo. Hui! Hui! And the big one. Oh, to have 20-year-old legs again. Well, more specifically, 20-year-old knees. There we go. Another piece of the puzzle. All right, I am ecstatic about this car. I know it looks kind of bad, and I've had a lot of people ask me what this deal is with this car. The car had a tree drop on it at some point. I think the car is a fairly low mile car, somewhere in the 79,000 mile range. It is a car that has never been molested. Whoever did this thing, they put an FM radio in it, but they added it to it. The FM radio was actually not put into the dash panel, so the dash panel pieces weren't cut. Everything on it is in pretty nice nicks. There's enough junk available on this car to actually mostly dress out the interior of the 63 hardtop, where all the instrumentation stuff is messed up and the wiring harness is a complete hack job. This thing has all of its original wiring, right down to the wiring on the original radio. You can see here you have your power wires coming in, and then you have your lighting on this one as well. None of this has been cut. This is all sitting almost exactly where probably Ford put this stuff back in 1962-ish. Let's just say maybe the beginning of 1963. So I am ecstatic with what we've got here. I'm just going to take this dash panel now and move it to the run-in shed back behind me, set it on a shelf for the moment until we can get back on top of this. I am going to go in and pull the 2-speed motor out of this thing before we get it too wet with the rains around here, so that we can use that in our 63 hardtop as well. All right, folks, do me a favor. Go out and check out Patreon. It's a way to support us, to support Darren as he helps me do the edit work on these things. You've seen some of his handiwork on the show. I think what he's adding to it is actually really funny a lot of times and actually real cool. I'm always surprised to come in on the backside of it to do the final edit out that I do on it, because I am the executive producer. Anyway, I like what I'm seeing out of Darren. He's doing a great job for us. So if you think that's great, help in that way. Also, you know, if we have done anything in the videos that you watch with us to help you restore your car, or you learn something about what we're doing here, you might want to think about putting some money toward what we do on a monthly basis. That can be anywhere from $2 to guys like Pat Lee, who are putting in a lot more money than that. That's all I'm going to say about what Pat's putting in. But we have a lot of good supporters, and the guys that have been going up next to me, either here or here, wherever Darren decides to put it, they're the ones who are actually doing the full-on support above the $10 or at the $10 amount level and above. Also, you know where I'm going with this, folks. We're talking about Super Thanks, the best idea with the worst name YouTube has ever come up with. This is a way for you to thank us for a one-time thing. Like if this video said, you go, holy cow, I'm about to pull the dash panel out of my Galaxy, that's worth $200 what you just said. I know it's not going to be worth $200 to anybody, but you know where I'm going with this. So you can do a super thanks to us. You can do as little as, I don't know, let's just call it $2. I think that's the minimum amount you can do. Do $2, I'll know that's your 2 cents worth, or what you think of my work is like 2 cents. And please don't do millions of dollars in foreign currency, okay? Don't give me that heart attack. I don't want it, and I really don't need it. Finally, folks, do me a favor, be kind to each other, love on each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on down the road. Now I got to get this thing up there. Ooh, this end's heavier. It's so heavy. It's heavy. Ugh. I hope I don't trip on that one wire. Put it behind me. Oh no, away we go. Up the hill. Over Dale. Whoever that is.